I wanted to talk about the dragons with this equinox that we are moving through. This is a spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, and this is a very important portal that we are moving through associated with the wood dragons that this year is about. And I'm very, very fascinated about the dragons. And I do believe from the bottom of my heart that the dragons helped me get to where I am now. I wanted to share some tips on how to connect the dragons later. But first, it's important to understand this: what is the wood dragon archetype? Wood in Chinese medicine, it's within this five elemental theory system, five elemental system. Wood represents the springtime. Wood represents the energy of renewal, rebirth. It's the growth, it's the expansion, it's the uprising energy, it's the sprouting energy. And it also is the energy of courage, it's the boldness, it's the determination, it's the pushing through, determined to get to where we want to get to, right? That energy of determination is associated with the wood element as well. Now, liver and gallbladders are the two organs that's associated with the wood element within the body. But I do not want to digress and move into that direction too much. I want to talk about the dragons, right? So this is the year that we are encouraged to really tap in, to ride the back of the dragons, to ascend, to expand, to grow. Right. This is the very important year, not only because it's the wood dragon year, but this is the year of number 8, numerologically 2024. 2 plus 2 plus 4 is 8. 8 is considered as an energy and the number of the dragons in Japan. It's the symbol of infinity. It's the snake, right, biting the tail. It's the symbol of, right, it's the fluid, it's the symbol of change, the eternity, the infinity, eternal expansion, right? The energy that the dragons represent too. Dragons are the water deity according to Japanese system. It's the water deity, and it's the divine energy of, it's the gods, the snake god, right? Very similar energy. Anyway, so in order for us to connect to the spirit of the dragons, first it's essential for us to believe in them, right? I believe in them without a doubt, 100%. There are some choreography, like the language, the words that is called as ryutai moji in Japan, which is like a symbolic old scripture of the bodies of dragons. There is a name for called that specific language choreography is called the ryutai. Ryu means dragon, the dragon body language. And there are some stories that I've read that, there were sometimes in Jomon period in Japan over 6,000 years ago, people used to live with the dragons because back then people were more in tune with the divine energies, with dragons are the creatures from the higher dimensions, and back then they were living in sync with nature, in sync with the cosmos, with deep prayers and celebrations and festivals and all of that, right? So there were a lot of mystic stories associated with the dragons in Japan too, where I grew up. But also, dragons are the energy of chi. It is the symbolic being that represents the cosmic current. It is anything moving. It's the chi, it's the prana, it's the force of life. There are meridians within the body, which is called that energy channels within the body called meridian. That's according to the Chinese system. In Japan, we call it keiraku. There is another word for keiraku, for meridian, the energy channel, which is called ryumyaku. Ryumaku means the web of the dragons. It's the pathway of dragons. So people did, from the back then, from old times, that people believed that those energy channels are the pathway of dragons too, meaning they did consider dragons as the flow of chi, right, the current. And we if we think of that on an energy level, of course we do remember we all have dragons within us because we were once just the current of energy. It's that movement of chi, the prana, before we were housed within this body, right? We do have memories of that cosmic space, or of, wherever that space that we've been traveling in, wherever that is. But I do believe we all have the memories of that fast, ever expansive energy system that we all belong, where we all belong, right? This movement, this earth moving around, this sun moving around, this galaxy moving around somewhere, moving super fast within the void of nothingness. And that nothingness is also ever expanding, bigger and bigger. Everything is about movement within this world that we belong, right, where we are part of. Now, when we think of dragons as energy, that's one way we can connect to our own dragons that lies within us. But dragons, all sorts of dragons, right? Good and bad dragons are just like everything else within this dualistic, polarized world. There are good and there are bad, and there are light and there are darkness, and everything, right? But that's one way of understanding dragons as energies. But I would like to understand also, I would like to share also what, to me, how I think of dragons, and then how I practice connecting to the dragons, and certain tips that we can practice to connect deeper to our own dragons. Some people say we all have a dragon, at least one, all of us. And I think if we think of dragons as the current of life, as long as, yes, we have, as long as we are alive within this form, there are and there is dragon with us, right? Very strong protection, very, very strong protective energy, creative energy, expansive energy, growth energy. It moves us very fast. It's a very beautiful, powerful energy I think of and I connect to every single day. But when I started connecting to my dragon, I was in a very heavy, devastating space. I was not happy. I was going through quite a big drama, trauma, heavy death and endings, and I was not good, right? This material realm of reality felt very dense and hard to move through. I was crying a lot and all that. And at that point, I had to connect to that spirit realm. I had to open my awareness to something bigger and greater, because this world just felt too hard to stay living on at that time for my dramatic, emotional being that I was back then. At least I'm still like that, but the dragons helped me transform quite a lot when it comes to those emotions. So it's not that we want dragons to come to us. Dragons come to us when we are determined to awaken. We're determined to be liberated, to be free from who we are not. Whatever we thought we were, all those ideas about self, all these rules that we follow or roles that we play, some ourselves who are slaves to our own emotions and thoughts and all moody and all uncontrollable ups and downs, and I was all that, right? But I wanted to change. I was determined to connect to that awakening spirit, or to go through that self-realization thing, right? Because I do believe, I still believed back then too, that we're all here to do that to some degree. We're all on a path to awaken and to be liberated from the illusionary world that where we belong, the mentally constructed world where we belong. I know this world is just one aspect of our world, right? There is something in the unseeable realm of reality. So at that time, I started to meditate every day. I started to think of dragons a lot, right? The first key to connect to dragons are just believe 100% without no doubt that there are dragons, right? Playfully, you just start to connect to the dragons everywhere. You wake up thinking of dragons, sending deep gratitude to the dragons, or all the signs that you see, synchronicities. I'm thinking about something, and then I look at the time, and it's 888. Okay, it's a go sign from my dragon. Thank you for the message. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God, the universe, whatever that you name it, right? I'm just so drawn and fascinated by the dragons and all the snakes that I used to draw and paint, always the snake, right? When I woken up to like, that's why I was always painting and drawing snakes, because I was the dragon. I had such a deep connection to the dragons, like more like synchronistic aha moments that I had through my journey of connecting to the dragons. But so now we are at the equinox point, spring equinox point. It's important, spring energy, the wood rising energy. It is the moment of equal light and dark. And then in northern hemisphere, this is the more and more expansion of light is starting to happen from this point up to the summer solstice, right? So it's a very important time period. So when if we want to connect to the dragons, right, you think of the dragons first a lot, right? And then you want to be determined to go through this self-realization awakening path, because dragons and those beings from that higher dimensions come down here to help those who are ready, who are determined to awaken. They are the helpers, they are the guide, help us support that growth and support that awakening process. So we want to be determined, right? Set it. I am here to do this. Nothing can stop me. I'll do it, right? Like will, strong determination that I'm not gonna suffer anymore. No, because that determination is the nature that's closer to God, that's closer to the dragons. The dragons love those ones who are adventurous, who are courageous, who are bold, and who are determined, because those are the quality of the dragons. Dragons wouldn't be mourning, stuck in the space. No, dragons are, right fly across the sky and then keep ascending and keep expanding, keep rising, right? That's the energy quality that we want to tap in and we want to raise within us, so that the dragons can come closer to us too. And then we want to see from that higher perspective, right? We The more that we keep expanding our awareness, like we see the world from the eyes of the dragons, like we are the god looking down to this earthly realm, looking myself doing all the chores and all taking care of responsibilities and being stressed out or being this way or that way. We want to see ourselves from that distance point, to see this world, to this life from that dragon's perspective more and more. And the more that we do that, we start to be a part of that big current of energy, which is that representation of the dragons, which is vast and big, enormous power, right? So we want to really raise our awareness to that point, raise our awareness of our power to that point. I talk about this a lot in even tarot readings and in everything, but it's so important to keep that awareness on the edge of the mind, even though we get stressed out and we get caught up with the humanly things. But at the same time, we want to turn on that dragon switch, okay, turning it in to connect to the spirit of the wild mystic dragons. And when we tap in and connect to that, we become like, this is nothing. I'm not wasting my energy being stressed out on this matter. And the more and more our vibrational frequencies start to match with the vibrational frequency of the dragons, then we start to care less of certain things that bothered us so much. We start caring less of little things, little judgment, little things that this person is doing or that, whatever that you see here and there, whatever you hear, those things start to matter less, because those are too tiny to be wasting and using our mind for. We are aiming somewhere bigger, higher, right? Awakening is the energy of liberation from the illusionary, delusionary, mental constructed world that we play a part of. I'm not saying to leave this earthly realm behind or anything like that. It's important for us also to connect to the celestial dragons in the sky. We have to be grounded and connected to the dragons of the earth too. There are earth dragons called Chiru. Chiru is the dragons that can sense how we are grounded, how we are rooted. We have to be rooted and grounded on this realm. Then we can be an open vessel, open channel, open dragon vessel for us to be the vessel and channel that connects to from the earth and heaven, and we can start to serve that higher consciousness, right? Serve the dragons. I think, right, how I want to align my will with the will of God, with the will of the dragons. I am here to serve you, and I am, and then also, you know, I am not, it's important that they're just like high, way high up there. Dragons are us also. There is no duality between us and God. It's God is us, the dragons are us. So it's important to be, you know, to not to put them on a pedestal and they're like far away being or anything like that. We have to be the embodiment of that, so that we can be that energy pathway and, you know, receive all the downloads of information from that higher realm, from the dragons, and then we can pass them through and, you know, help us guide to live with ease, more easy, stress-free, right? And so that I think the dragons are here also to protect us humanity, from all the crazy things going on too, right? But anyway, I hope that this was kind of a fun, quick thing talking about the dragons. I'm gonna continue to talk about the dragons because this is something that I'm very fascinated by, and I feel like this idea of me talking about the dragons on YouTube came through one day when I was meditating. So I felt like that was a message that I received from the dragons, that I should talk more about the dragons, so that by we sharing more about the dragons, especially this year, the power of the dragons became massive. All of a sudden everybody's talking about the dragons, but people in Japan has been talking about the dragons more, like the past few years. More and more people are talking more and more about the dragons because we are more and more becoming conscious and aware of those high dimensional energy bodies, entities. So yes, let's keep doing it and look for the dragons, right? Look for dragons in clouds, look for dragons in a little ray of light, and whatever that you feel like. I've seen quite profound face of a dragon last summer, right before I went back to Japan. I saw like, whoa, big massive dragon face right in front of me, and then I was like, holy crap. And then I told my daughter to see it, and she was like, whoa, too. So it's not something I just made up in my mind, but big. And then when I went back to Japan, I got guided to certain shrines, which had very strong connection to the dragons, and I really felt like I was called to go visit and to deepen my connection to them. Anyway, blah. I can be talking forever, but this is, yes, I wish you a beautiful eclipse portal. Let us ride the back of the dragons more and more. Step in, rise, ascend, grow, expand. Yes, thank you.